A silent connection. The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of Sterling Technologies, casting long shadows across the polished marble floor. Emma Martinez stood near the reception desk, clutching her employee badge with trembling fingers. It was only her third week as an intern, and the massive lobby still made her feel impossibly small. She had always been the quiet one. In college, she sat in the back row. At family gatherings, she listened more than she spoke. Her mother often joked that Emma could disappear in a crowded room, and it was partly true. She preferred it that way, observing the world from a safe distance. The office buzzed with activity around her. Employees in crisp suits hurried past, their shoes clicking against the floor like a rhythmic drum. Phones rang at the front desk. The elevator chimed every few minutes, releasing another wave of confident professionals into the building. Emma adjusted her simple blue blouse and tried to blend into the background, which was exactly where she felt most comfortable. Her supervisor, Patricia, had assigned her to help with visitor check-ins this morning. It was supposed to be simple work, just greeting guests and directing them to the appropriate floors. But even this task made Emma's heart race. She had rehearsed her greeting in the bathroom mirror twice already. The morning passed slowly. Emma checked in a few suppliers, a potential client, and someone's family member dropping off a forgotten lunch. Each interaction was brief and polite. She was just beginning to relax when she noticed a man approaching the desk. He was perhaps in his early 40s, wearing a neat gray jacket and carrying a leather portfolio. His dark hair was combed back neatly, and he had kind eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners. But there was something hesitant in the way he walked, a careful deliberation in each step. When he reached the desk, he didn't speak. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed her a message he had typed. "Good morning. I have an appointment with the marketing department at 10 o'clock. My name is David Chen." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She understood immediately. David was deaf. She glanced at the sign-in sheet, her mind racing. The receptionist had stepped away for a coffee break. Patricia was in a meeting upstairs. Emma was alone, and she had no idea what to do. Her first instinct was to panic, to find someone else who could help, someone more experienced, someone braver. But David was watching her with patient, hopeful eyes. Emma took a slow breath. Then she did something that surprised even herself. She lifted her hands and began to sign. "Good morning. Welcome to Sterling Technologies." Her movements were careful and deliberate. It had been years since she had used sign language, not since her childhood best friend, Lily, had moved away when they were both 12. Lily had been born deaf, and Emma had learned to sign so they could talk during recess, at sleepovers, during all those endless summer afternoons. They had been inseparable for 5 years, and then Lily's family relocated across the country. They had lost touch, as children often do, but Emma had never quite forgotten what she had learned. David's entire face changed. His polite but guarded expression melted into genuine surprise, then warmth. He signed back, his movements fluid and natural. "You know sign language. That's wonderful. Most people don't." Emma felt a flutter of relief and something else, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Pride, maybe. Or purpose. She signed back, apologizing that she was a bit rusty, explaining where he needed to go. David was understanding and kind, thanking her repeatedly. As Emma walked him to the elevator and made sure he knew which floor to visit, their conversation continued in graceful, silent movements. David told her about his business, his nervousness about the presentation he was about to give. Emma found herself responding naturally, her usual shyness fading away in the comfort of this wordless dialogue. There was something liberating about signing, about communicating in a language that didn't require her voice, that didn't make her throat tighten with anxiety. What Emma didn't notice was the man standing near the far wall, half hidden behind a marble column. James Sterling, the company's chief executive officer, had been on his way to a meeting when he paused to take a phone call. From his position, he had a clear view of the reception area. He had watched the entire interaction unfold. James was known throughout the company as a demanding but fair leader. He had built Sterling Technologies from a small startup into an industry leader, and he didn't tolerate mediocrity. But he also valued character, integrity, and compassion. These qualities, he believed, couldn't be taught in business school. He watched as the young intern, whose name he didn't know, communicated with the deaf visitor using sign language. He saw the patience in her movements, the genuine kindness in her expression. He observed how she walked the man to the elevator, ensuring he felt welcomed and cared for. In his 20 years of running this company, he had seen countless employees treat visitors as inconveniences, as interruptions to their important work. But this young woman had done something different. She had seen a person, not a task. She had offered dignity, not just assistance. James made a mental note. Then he continued to his meeting, but the image stayed with him throughout the day. Emma returned to her desk, her heart still racing from the unexpected encounter. The rest of the morning passed uneventfully. By lunchtime, she had almost forgotten about the interaction, dismissing it as just another moment in her day, nothing special, certainly nothing that anyone else would care about. But the next morning, when Emma arrived at work, Patricia was waiting for her with an unusual expression on her face. It was somewhere between confused and impressed. "Emma," Patricia said, "Mr. Sterling wants to see you in his office. Right now." Emma's stomach dropped. James Sterling, the CEO, the man whose face appeared on the company website and in business magazines. She had never even been on the executive floor, let alone spoken to anyone that high up in the company. "Did I do something wrong?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Patricia shook her head, but she looked as bewildered as Emma felt. "I honestly don't know. He specifically asked for you by name." The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. Emma's palms were sweating. Her mind spun through every possible mistake she might have made. Had she misdirected someone important? Filled out a form incorrectly? Said something inappropriate without realizing it? James Sterling's office was enormous, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He stood when she entered, which surprised her. Important people didn't usually stand for interns. "Emma Martinez," he said, extending his hand. "Please, sit down." She sat on the edge of a leather chair, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. James studied her for a moment, then smiled. It was a warm smile that reached his eyes and made him seem less intimidating, more human. "I saw what you did yesterday," he said simply. "With the visitor who was deaf. David Chen." Emma's eyes widened. She hadn't realized anyone had been watching. "I wanted to thank you," James continued. "And to tell you that what you did represents exactly the kind of character we value here at Sterling Technologies. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped them with grace and competence. You didn't make a fuss about it. You didn't seek recognition. You just did what was right." Emma didn't know what to say. She had never been good at accepting compliments. James leaned forward slightly. "I also wanted to tell you that you're wasted at the reception desk. We're moving you to our client relations department, effective immediately. With a proper salary, not an intern stipend. And we'd like you to help us develop better accessibility protocols for visitors and employees with disabilities. Would you be interested in that?" Emma stared at him, certain she had misheard. But James was waiting patiently for her answer, and the sincerity in his expression told her this was real. "Yes," she whispered. Then, stronger, "Yes. Thank you. I would love that." As Emma left the office, she felt different somehow. Lighter. The quiet girl who preferred to disappear had been seen, truly seen, and not for being loud or bold or fearless. She had been seen for being kind. Sometimes, she realized, the smallest gestures speak the loudest. Sometimes, the quietest voices carry the most important messages. And sometimes, when you least expect it, someone is watching, someone is paying attention, someone notices that you chose compassion over convenience. Emma stepped into the elevator with her head held just a little higher than before. Through the glass walls, the city stretched out below her, vast and full of possibility. And for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to be part of it. Not by being someone she wasn't, but simply by being exactly who she was. A quiet young woman who knew how to listen, how to see, and how to speak in the language that mattered most, the language of human kindness.